Hello history buffs and welcome back to the channel. With Valentine's Day just around the corner, I thought we would take a look at the lovers and mistresses of King Henry VIII. This list will contain both confirmed, alleged and rumoured mistresses, but I will highlight during the video what category they fall into. Before we start, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and make sure that notification bell is on so you don't miss the next instalment in this series. Elizabeth Bessie Blount was one of King Henry VIII's most significant and infamous mistresses, with their affair lasting approximately from 1514 to 1519. While her exact birth year is uncertain, Bessie was likely born between 1498 and 1502, making her just a teenager when the affair began. She was the daughter of Sir John Blount of Kinlet Hall, Shropshire, and his wife Catherine Peschel. Bessie's noble lineage and family connections positioned her well for a role at court. Bessie entered the royal court as a maid of honour to Queen Catherine of Aragon in 1512, likely through the influence of William Blount, Lord Mountjoy, who was Queen Catherine's chamberlain and a kinsman of Bessie's father. Known for her beauty and accomplishments, Bessie excelled in singing, dancing, and other goodly pastimes, which greatly appealed to King Henry VIII. Chroniclers described her as an exceptional beauty and talented. As historian Alison Weir notes, Bessie was said to be a woman of great charm and accomplishment. The affair between Henry and Bessie became public knowledge during the early years of his reign. Although specific details are scarce, their relationship is believed to have begun in around 1514. According to some accounts, Bessie featured prominently in court entertainments and pageants during this time, which may have drawn attention to her relationship with the king. The affair reached its climax in 1519, when Bessie gave birth to Henry's illegitimate son, Henry Fitzroy, on the 15th of June at Blackmore Priory in Essex. Fitzroy was Henry VIII's only acknowledged illegitimate child. The king openly celebrated the birth of this healthy son, naming him Fitzroy, meaning son of the king.
Breathtaking. I shall call him Mini-Me.
The public acknowledgement was significant, as it demonstrated Henry's ability to father male heirs during a time when his marriage to Catherine of Aragon had failed to produce a surviving son. After Fitzroy's birth, Henry arranged an honourable marriage for Bessie to Gilbert Talboys, one of Cardinal Wolsey's wards. The marriage took place in late 1519 or early 1520. The couple had several children together before Gilbert's death in 1530. Following his death, Bessie remarried to Edward Fiennes de Clinton, later the 9th Baron Clinton. Throughout her life, Bessie continued to receive royal favour. She was granted land and other gifts by Henry VIII, even after their romantic relationship had ended. However, there is no evidence that their sexual relationship continued after Fitzroy's birth. Bessie's affair with Henry VIII is significant not only for its duration, but also because it produced Henry's only acknowledged illegitimate child. This fact became crucial during Henry's later marital troubles and his quest for a male heir. Historian Susanna Lipscomb observes that Fitzroy's existence proved that Henry could father a healthy son, which added pressure on Catherine of Aragon and later Anne Boleyn to deliver a male heir. Bessie Blount lived until 1540 or 1541 and died at an unknown location. Her legacy endures as one of the most prominent mistresses of King Henry VIII and as the mother of his only publicly recognised illegitimate child. Jane Pollard was a noblewoman from Devon, England, born in around 1500. She was the daughter of Sir Lewis Pollard, a judge of the Common Pleas, and Anne, or sometimes known as Agnes, Hex. In 1520, Jane married Sir Hugh Stukeley, a Knight of the Body, to King Henry VIII. Jane and Hugh had a large family, with sources suggesting they had between 10 and 12 children. Their third son, Thomas Stukeley, born in around 1525, would later become a source of controversy and speculation regarding Jane's relationship with King Henry VIII. Thomas led a colourful and adventurous life, becoming known as a soldier, pirate, and adventurer.
You are without doubt the worst pirate I've ever heard of.
But you have heard of me.
His exploits brought him fame and notoriety throughout Europe. As historian Evelyn Waugh describes him, Thomas was a preposterous and richly comic figure in the Elizabethan age. The rumour that Thomas Stukeley was Henry VIII's illegitimate son began circulating later in Thomas's life. This claim, if true, would suggest that Jane Pollard had an affair with the king. However, there is no concrete evidence to support this assertion. The theory of Thomas's royal parentage seems to rest on a single report by James Fitzgerald, an Irish exile who met Thomas in Rome in 1577 to 1578. Fitzgerald wrote that some said Thomas was an illegitimate son of King Henry VIII. However, the credibility of this claim is questionable, as Fitzgerald's sources are unknown. Historians generally dismiss the idea of Thomas being Henry VIII's son. As Alison Weir puts in her book about Mary Boleyn, the Great and Infamous Whore, Henry VIII never set foot in Devon and only once travelled as far as the West Country in 1535. This makes a liaison between the king and Jane Pollard extremely unlikely. Furthermore, William Cecil Lord Burleigh, Queen Elizabeth's chief minister, spoke harshly of Thomas after his death, calling him a defamed person almost through all Christendom. Such language would be unlikely if Cecil believed Thomas to be the Queen's half-brother. While Jane Pollard's life was certainly interesting due to her connection to the Tudor court through her husband and her son's notorious exploits, there is no substantial evidence to suggest she ever had an affair with King Henry VIII. The rumours surrounding her son Thomas appear to be more a product of his own colourful life and the political intrigue of the time rather than any connection to royal parentage. Elizabeth Carew was a prominent figure in the Tudor court during the reign of King Henry VIII. She was born in around 1500 and she was the daughter of Sir Thomas Bryan and Lady Margaret Bryan, both of whom held influential positions in the royal household. Elizabeth's connections to the court were further strengthened by her marriage to Sir Nicholas Carew, a close friend of King Henry VIII. In October 1514, a letter from Charles Brandon to King Henry VIII hinted at the king's familiarity with both Elizabeth Carew and Bessie Blount. Brandon asks Henry to remind Mistress Blount and Mistress Carew that next time I write unto them letters or send them tokens. This suggests that both women were engaged in flirtatious relationships with the king, and possibly Brandon as well. Elizabeth's alleged affair with King Henry VIII is believed to have begun around this time. The king showered her with extravagant gifts, including many beautiful diamonds and pearls and innumerable jewels. Such lavish presents were often seen as evidence of a more intimate relationship between the king and his courtiers. Interestingly, it appears that Henry VIII may have been content to share Elizabeth's affections with other men at court. Sources suggest that he was happy to share the favours of Elizabeth Carew and Elizabeth Blount with men such as William Compton. This arrangement, while unusual by modern standards, was not uncommon in the Tudor court. Elizabeth's position at court remained secure for many years, even as Henry's affections shifted. She continued to receive royal favours and gifts as late as 1529. However, her fortunes took a dramatic turn in 1539 when her husband, Sir Nicholas Carew, was executed for treason. Despite the scandal surrounding her alleged affair with the king and her husband's execution, Elizabeth Carew managed to maintain some status at court. She died in July 1546, leaving behind a complex legacy as a possible royal mistress and a survivor of Tudor court intrigues. Mary Boleyn was born around 1499, and she was the elder sister of Anne Boleyn and a notable figure in the Tudor court. Her life took a dramatic turn when she became the mistress of King Henry VIII in the early 1520s. Mary's affair with Henry VIII likely began shortly after her marriage to William Carey on the 4th of February 1520. The king himself attended their wedding. Their liaison is believed to have started in around 1522. The exact duration of Mary's relationship with the king remains uncertain, but it's thought to have lasted several years. During this time, Mary gave birth to 2 children, Catherine in 1524 and Henry in 1526. While speculation persists about their paternity, Henry VIII never acknowledged them as his, and some historians even argue that their relationship was over by 1524, meaning that Henry Carey could not have been Henry's. Evidence of the affair includes Henry VIII naming a ship the Mary Boleyn,
Pretty obvious.
and granting favours to William Carey. However, these grants were not unusual for courtiers, and may not necessarily indicate payment for access to Mary. The relationship likely ended by 1526, although some speculate 1524, as Henry's attention shifted to Mary's sister, Anne.
I'm not saying I wasn't a little surprised.
The affair later created a legal complication when Henry sought to marry Anne, as it placed him within the same degree of affinity to both sisters. Mary's life after the affair was marked by both tragedy and scandal. She was widowed in 1528 when William Carey died of the sweating sickness. In 1534, she secretly married William Stafford, a match deemed unsuitable by her family and the royal court, leading to her banishment. Joan Dingley was a royal laundress who allegedly caught the eye of King Henry VIII during the late 1520s. Raised within the royal household, Joan worked as a laundress, washing the clothes of King Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon. Her low social status might have made her an easy target for the king's wandering eye. Historians suggest the affair was likely a brief encounter, possibly a one-night stand, where Henry took advantage of her vulnerable position. The most compelling evidence of their alleged relationship is the birth of her daughter, Etheldreda, or Audrey Malt, in the late 1520s. Interestingly, Henry seems to take an unusual interest in the child's fate. He granted generous lands and properties to John Malt, the royal tailor, and claimed Etheldreda as his own daughter, as in John claimed Etheldreda, not Henry. After Etheldreda's birth, Henry quickly arranged for Joan to marry a man named Dobson, effectively removing her from potential court scandal. However, the story doesn't end there. Etheldreda went on to serve in the household of Princess Elizabeth Tudor during Queen Mary's reign, a placement that some historians believe suggests royal recognition of her parentage. The most intriguing twist? Etheldreda remained close to Elizabeth and died just months after her alleged half-sister was crowned queen in 1559. While we may never know the full truth of Joan Dingley's relationship with Henry VIII, her story provides a fascinating glimpse into the complex and often hidden world of Tudor relationships. And that's where I'm going to leave today's video. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day. Bye.